Thumbs up.
All right.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think we want to start with introductions since we have some new people. Sure, correct. You guys want to start on one of the ends? I don't care who.
Kyle Grasso from Shelby County Public Library. Formally to the executive.
Here today as a guest.
Yep, as a guest today.
Jenna Wallace from the Shelby County Public Library.
Scott Tracy, just left yet.
Jennifer McKinley from Morgan County Public Library.
Nancy Disbrook from Andrews Dallas Township Public Library.
Jason Moyer here.
Ruth Frazier from Hagerstown Jefferson Township Public Library.
Vanessa Martin, Greensburg, Decatur County Public Library.
Courtney Allison, ISL, and I'm also a guest.
Monty Manning, currently at Alexandria, starting at Plainfield on Monday.
Why did we skip?
You skipped me.
Okay, sorry.
You're okay.
Sorry.
Hey, I'm good. Mandy Mayporter, Noble County Public Library.
I'm Sarah Childs from the Hussey Mayfield Memorial Public Library in Zionsville.
I'm Britta Dorsey. I'm from the Thorntown Public Library.
Wendy Knapp here.
Monica Open, State Library. Judy, you can join us up here. Yeah.
This is Judy.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda for today? Can I have a motion to approve it?
I will move to approve that. You get to do the motion
still
and
use
I'll
our
second it.
Okay. All right.
So Janice does the motion.
We don't have to vote on anything there. You guys gotta keep me in line because I forget what I'm supposed to be doing half the time. Definitely. I'm always like, is that me? Are we back to me again? Okay. And then did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting?
Good.
In a second.
I'll second.
And I think that brings us to the state library report.
Yes, let me remind everybody here with falling into things again. All right, state library report. We're migrating a lot. And with 4 libraries all cataloging in, that means there's a lot of extra manual labor being done this round. These are the same group that we saw last time we were here, and progress is being made. We have cataloging parties coming up in Nicetown, Spiceland, and Swayze in the next few weeks. Ohio Township, our automated library that we're bringing in October, we're still working on data mapping and testing, and going back and forth because they had some interesting setups with their branches. So we just want to make sure that everything comes in as they are expecting, or as much as we can.
Where exactly, this has been asked every single time, I think.
Mhm.
Where is Swayze?
Swayze is in,
I lost there once.
it's right next to Marion. Does that help?
It's just north of me.
I'm the same one here, probably. There's a lot more information there. And I did the same thing I did last time. I ran a report, and last time they had 8,400 items cataloged, so they've made a lot of progress in the 2 months since you met. A lot of that was the result of all the cataloging parties that we were able to squeeze in this summer. So again, my thanks go out to all the libraries that have sent staff to these. I know it's tough sometimes to get your staff or let your staff have a day away working, but it really has made a huge difference for these libraries. Acquisitions, unfortunately, has been in a holding pattern while we got through the end of summer. I will be revisiting this with pilot libraries here shortly. Transiting video disc program, I'm going to keep a very close eye on this for at least another couple of months. So 104 of the 113 active library systems have received a video disc transit. And keep in mind with that list of, with that count of 113, that includes 2 schools which are not eligible to participate, as well as the state libraries. So we have reached almost full saturation as far as patrons borrowing these materials. I've had very few damage reports. I've had more reports of the boxes being damaged than any holdings, so I'm very pleased
Well,
about
that's kind
that.
of the point of the boxes, though.
It was,
Okay.
absolutely. No, and a couple of cases where I have heard things being an issue, it was because someone didn't use the box, they tucked something in a padded envelope. Actually, seems to be the #1 time I'm hearing problems. I've been telling everybody this as I visit their libraries, but one of the things I'm planning to do in September is to do a big statistical analysis of this, see how this is actually affecting things. Try to figure out what it means for libraries that are lending, how are they being impacted? For those that are borrowing, how are they being impacted? And I want to make sure that I do that in comparison with libraries that are of similar size, because it's not fair to say that Newcastle's expectations are going to be the same as Dublin's. They would be in very close proximity, but their patron base is much different. The cleanup, up. Over 17,500 of them so far since the end of March. Our top lenders, we have a new entry, and that's Newcastle, Henry County, since you met last. That's mostly because they were just barely coming on, and they have been lending with abandon ever since. And the top borrowers, those sorted around a little bit, and then Plainfield is a new entry. On the development project front, searchable reports and suspending hold time placement, both of those packages have been delivered for testing. They will probably not be put into place officially in the software until 3.0. That's the plan at any rate. We'll see what our options are here locally.
For the suspending the hold at the time of placement, will it be like an additional field where you place the hold that does that as part of that, or do we not know?
It's Jocelyn's done the testing on it. I haven't actually seen it yet. But as far as I understand, it's like a checkbox where when you're in the process of placing the hold, you can go ahead and suspend it at that point.
So it doesn't have like a date to set.
I have to ask her. I don't remember from the specs. It might be. So I remember some of the feedback I saw said something about a drop down with it.
A date picker.
Oh, yeah. Jason Stevenson working on that. That did come up a lot. There's probably
So then the setup creek off.
Cool.
So I'm actually not sure. I just missed it.
But progress is being made on those. The last 3, we already knew it was going to be 2018 before we were going to see progress on those because of the equinox timing. But I'm doing testing on the reports. Jocelyn's doing testing on the hold suspension, and we'll just keep plugging away at it. We're spending a lot of time on the road. Everybody keeps asking me, so did you have a good vacation? I haven't been on vacation. We have officially visited 22 library systems so far. And I say systems with a point because we're trying to hit every branch while we're at it, see everything that everybody's trying to deal with. In the next 4 weeks, I have 23 systems with 43 locations with confirmed dates and times. I have several others I'm still working on, but it's going really well. The visit cards that I had up at the start of things, those have been really popular. I've been getting a lot of feedback about that as libraries are finally getting to see that whole list. I did put up an interactive map for tracking, and I'll open that up in a second. As we're talking to everybody, of course, one of the things we're trying really hard to establish is what makes every library special, what interesting programs they've got going on, what can we use to build on as a community. But there are some very common themes that keep coming up as we talk to them. First up, Evergreen is fantastic. as far as what it means for their patrons. Having access to all the resources is invaluable. And because of this community, they are able to know all of their patrons. They feel like they're able to keep the small town feel if they're a small town, and really prioritize being community centers. I'm worried about whether or not they've got every book ever written on their shelves. Everybody needs more money and space, not a surprise, I'm sure. And everybody finds reports frustrating. Actually, let me see if I can get this properly with me now. But this is the map. And the green dot's the ones we've already done. I have a planning map that's got a lot of them where we're getting ready to go. But if you click on these, it will open up the visit cards. So if you want to check out everybody's visit cards, they're available there. And I've had questions. Yes, I will be posting this as an album at the end of the year. So if people want to go through a cruise in that way, they can. Nope. All right. The ethics audit is officially closed. I'm working on all the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork again this round. I ended up receiving a lot of forms in addition to this audit paperwork. So I'm wading through all of that still. I do know I still have some libraries missing. I'm going to follow up with them this week. Upgrades to the web client. Well, the good news is we've had multiple upgrades in the last few months that you haven't even noticed. Yes, Jason can tell you, it's gotten much easier. I don't know if you want to talk about how that's gone.
Well, the reason it's easier is the staff client that you have installed is never going to get updated again.
Oh, that's easy.
So, yeah. But we have gotten a lot of web client patches put in. I haven't been pulling things necessarily that are only coming in 3.0, but there have been a lot of fixes that they've been backporting all the way back to 2.12, 3 and 4. We're actually technically on 2.12.3 right now.
Did we back up?
There will be a 4.
Okay.
4 is not out yet. Probably update us again here in the next couple of weeks. Won't notice. So the only thing that will be a bigger deal is when we do move to 3.0. That will probably happen over the weekend. Things will just look different because there will be a lot of changes that all pile on at once. There will be big, huge new stuff that everyone has to learn first day, anything like that. But if you happen to notice there's some extra check boxes someplace, that's probably the only big thing.
Are we deprecating the staff client this winter?
Basically, yeah. Plan is when 3.0 is released, which is in the next couple of months, that you actively start trying to move to the web client. 3.1. I'm not sure of the distinction now what 3.1 is going to bring, but in 3.2, it's gone. So you will be using the web client when we move to 3.2, whether you prepared for it or not. So
Do we have to download the little thingy for printing?
you don't have to. Printing is about all it's going to do because they're working on the offline mode right now. That will be a change for some people apparently. Do not totally empty your browser cache because you'll throw away all your registered workstations and your offline transactions and the pages that do the offline transactions. So the first time you log in, it saves all the offline pages in case something happens. And you'll be able to do check-ins and check-outs. Just check in or check-outs, please. As you would normally, you just can't log in because you can't reach us. But if you wipe out your browser cache, there is nothing we can do to help you at that point. So he's down.
And that's gonna all be explained in these webinars that.
Well, as much as possible, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, not everything,
There
there's
are
always
going
gonna
to
be
be
things you
a
don't
lot
know.
of things that are changing, and there are changes to workflows, we're already seeing that. We've been using web client pretty much exclusively for the cataloging parties, so catalogers are getting a chance to play with it. Fulton County and Westfield, Washington have both been doing a lot of testing, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from them. And there are patches going in constantly. So sometimes we get something, Shelley will send me something, we're able to have something fixed by the next day. So it's kind of exciting to see it all come together so quickly. But there have been a couple things we've found well, I have anyway, tried to figure out how that managed to sneak by people. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions about when are you going to actually teach us this? So we will definitely have some webinars this winter. I wasn't holding webinars, but an upgrade, right? But yeah, it's going well, and I am hearing from more and more libraries that are starting to try it out and use it and get used to it, and so far it's going pretty well.
Okay, we haven't met since the last meeting, so I don't really have anything to share. We're having advanced cataloging next week. Thursday and Friday, so.
Our big thing that we talked about today, I think, was the Advantage Plus program, where we may be going to a situation or a scenario, setup, scheme, however you want to look at it, whereby libraries can buy on an Advantage account, and then after a certain amount of time, where it would be available to their patrons, then it would roll over to the consortium as a whole. So we all kind of thought that was a really cool, nifty idea. I was, for many years, a big opponent to Advantage accounts, and I think this is a nice, very nice workaround for that. So that was our big piece of information, I think, from that meeting today.
I'm going to be drafting a revision to the policy because right now it is officially policy, and then the committee will probably be voting on that electronically so that we can move forward a little more quickly than having to wait till October.
Yeah, because we'll have contracts coming up pretty soon.
Right, those come up in the beginning of October, so yeah, it's a good time then.
The training manuals is hopefully quickly being finished. Still have some quizzes to fix and some language to edit on one of the videos, but other than that, the rest of the videos have been finished. We voted on the PES procedure, and that will be voted by e-ballot before the next meeting. We are going to begin updating the training manual to reflect the web client, since that will be the primary source of staff use in the coming updates. The minimum processing standards procedure was approved by the committee and is on its way to the cataloging committee for the next meeting.
Well, because it goes in your procedures.
We discussed the equipment circuit modifier, but that will be discussed in unfinished business. We also welcome new members, Lori Long from Morgan County, Josh Lewis from Lebanon, Andrea Basinger from Garrett, and Eric Fisher from Alexandria. Had officer elections, and then our next meeting is on September 19th.
Unfinished business, all right. Speaking of CERCMONs, this was the proposal that the Patron Services Group came up with. We discussed this for a long time that day. It does incorporate a few things that have been talked about in various quarters, and try to figure out how to mesh all of those concepts so that the most libraries could benefit from these. And this was the outcome. We're not stuck. I'm the one that applied the names, so if you have more distinctive name between these categories, that's fine. Basically, we were talking about taking the existing equipment, and that would be the default for general. It's not changed, except that it has longer cert periods again. But you may remember, it had short cert durations, and then had long cert durations, and then we created another cert mod, so went back to short durations, and now we're talking about having it back to long again. But the idea was that anything was going to be restricted was going to be something that's more likely going to be circulating for the shorter period. So we split that out. There was no recommendation for change on the max items, if you wanted to address that. No renewals was a big point in favor. Nobody wanted to change the fine options. They wanted to have those 3 options. Equipment doesn't have a grace day now due to the high turnover and frequent reservation of equipment. Holdability, we decided to leave it on for both because it can be set on a per item basis. You can go in and change that on each item as needed. Obviously, neither of these items transitable, and then the restricted would not be available for circulation to minors. Cool.
I assume we need a motion.
We do.
To accept
If you would
this.
like to,
I'll
live
move.
with it,
I'll
or
move
if you
with
want to
that.
chat about it.
Is there any discussion before we?
Oh, I will mention on the back of your packet are all the actual comments. I did get comments from people when they voted on this. This was the outcome of the survey. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on to this. Across the board, everybody seemed to find these options useful. I was surprised how many people I heard from who said, we don't really use that cert mod at all. So the number 1 category obviously is the maybe someday for both options. I got 88 responses, so that's what you're seeing here, are 88 responses and then their comments.
I think that part of that, we don't use that though, was also because the way that the different attributes were set up for it didn't fit how people wanted to circulate it, and so they were using for that. So this will hopefully make it what the item actually is align more with the cert mod, and
That was-
let it circulate.
That was certainly part of the goal. The one comment that I thought was interesting, might be something to consider for future, is that right now we don't have any hourly cert mods.
Right.
So, is that your comment?
No, it wasn't, but it's a great one.
I was gonna say, well, whatever it was they were circulating, it sounded like something you had at your library, bike box or something.
Oh, that's not my library, but also a great
We
idea.
have them.
Okay. I
Mitchell
don't remember who
Community
had the
does.
bike box. Who?
Mitchell does.
Mitchell
bike
does,
box.
you,
And I know Plainfield does too.
oh, that's who it was. I was thinking
Who
it
was
was.
that?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Okay.
You guys chatted about this, but we never actually came to a final decision, and it was officially tabled during the meeting, so we are revisiting the idea of auto-deleting long lost missing items, putting items under those other categories. And it has been, the proposal has been updated to reflect your preference for 5 years versus 3. So anything that is sat in one of those statuses for 5 years without change would be removed from the catalog. I know this would need to be prefaced with reports. I actually had libraries, when I published the agenda, contacted me again about the reports. So definitely need to do an awareness campaign so that libraries have an opportunity to do some self checks and or shelf checks.
Self-shelf checks.
Yeah. It's a tongue twister. To try to track down any materials that they can prior to them just being deleted. But I would be curious to know, if you decide to move forward with this, how long a window do you think is fair? Because we've had mixed reactions in the past. Some libraries like lots of time to work on things. I think a lot of times it depends on how large the collection you're talking about, of course, but others seem to do really well when they get a short deadline.
But these things have been sitting in this status for 5 years.
Yes.
I'm thinking like 3 months
Yeah.
to let them like us check those things and then.
Well, and this first time, it won't just be 5 years, it could be anywhere from
Yeah.
5 to 10.
Sure,
Right,
sure,
right.
yeah.
Right.
And
I mean,
we don't-
5 and more,
Yeah,
yeah.
we really need to look at things that have been like this for 4 years, because I hope over the course of a year, you can keep up there. But yeah, this first run, 3 to 6, probably fair.
And I lean towards the shorter of 3 to 6. So.
And 2, I don't know if this has come up or not, I can put a note on every item affected by this, so that you can find out why it disappeared, and it comes up again at some point. So that might help too,
You need to be a note, like if it comes up on somebody's account.
like a copy note that you would see in the report. I don't think you
You're
can see
doing
those
like
from
a
the
deleted
patron account. Yeah.
I know you will do this, but in the campaign of this, make sure people know it does not affect accounts. Because that's, you said
Oh, yeah,
it's
no,
always
it's-
the question.
Yeah.
That people immediately think, well,
The
it won't
bills
show up
will be
on their
gone.
account.
No,
Yeah.
no. The bills will still be there.
And the title will still be there on your account, but
Yeah.
you just won't be able to go to a record for it.
Right.
As long as that's
Any further discussion? All right, do I have a motion? Did we
Not
have a
yet.
motion yet? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Do we want a timeline on the motion connected with the motion?
Just pull that right off. Because most likely people are gonna just go around and do the last month anyway.
Yeah. 3, does 3 months sound reasonable?
Yeah, right, sounds like.
All in favor?
Right.
So first part of November. Say November 15th.
Okay,
All right.
ready for new business?
It's that time with the regional support again. Just how things have moved around. We're actually down officially 4 regions. And I'm not sure if you want to move around from those of you who still have regions, if you want to move around, or what the deal is, but we need to choose people to
I
fill
think
these
one
gaps.
question will actually be Monty.
Yeah.
So
You want to talk about that first?
I think probably.
Sure. All right. Next week, we're going to Plainfield. We do the Class B library. Was elected as a Class C representative. There are 2 years left on the term. It's down by 20% of a year now. But, there is no provision for this in the bylaws. So we have 3 options. You can either be retained by the committee as the elected choice, an elected choice of the community. The committee can choose to appoint a replacement, or the committee can ask me to put forth an election to the community to choose a replacement.
I think we should retain.
I think I should retain.
Oh.
What does Monty want?
That's a fair point.
Maybe we should ask Dennis, do you want to stay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm already on e-content, so I'll be here. So if you're thinking you're gonna get rid of me. So, yeah, it's fine with me.
Do we have any Class B at-large positions right now? Anybody that is in an at-large position from a Class B or a?
Is
Vanessa
is.
Yeah.
Is there
There's
some way
Class
that we could shift around those things? Because I think I'm at-large as a Class C.
No, you're in as Class C.
I am as a Class C representative, not at large.
You were voted in as the Class C representative.
But maybe there is a way, I mean, I'm not sure to shift them around to accommodate those different classes, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know if
I
you
can
can do that
relabel,
anyway.
I can relabel the seat as an at-large.
Well, I'm just wondering how many other B representatives do we have? I mean, do we have plenty of representation of European? Okay.
I think that's.
I was just
I think
curious.
that's the question, what is the makeup look like then?
Yeah, okay, that would put 4 Class Bs on the committee, 2 Class Cs, and 2 Class A. Well,
Are the largest amount of
Is
our
that-
members B libraries?
no, Class C.
Okay.
But I still think,
I'm all for retaining.
yeah, retaining at least 3, yeah.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, the other, yeah.
Do we need a
terms,
motion?
yeah, absolutely.
I
Does it need
think
to
it's
go
just-
to, does it need to go to the membership? Is that what you asked?
That's what I'm wondering.
No, it does not. It
Okay.
does not need to go to membership because it is for a term, for an existing term, it is up to the committee to determine how it stands.
We should probably motion.
So we need a motion to retain.
Sure.
Who wants to make a motion to
I'll make
retain?
that motion.
All right,
I'll second
here we go. All in favor?
Aye.
You're in.
Thank you.
Just remember, you're here for Class Cs.
Yeah. No.
Fight for them.
You're
still a Class C at heart.
Class C at heart, yes.
All right, with that in mind, I have gaps up north and down south.
So then my next question is, should Monty go to the central region?
Should I be, or
It
is
depends on-
Southwest, is that way Southwest or?
Yeah, that's the purple tip of the boot. Oh, wow.
Okay, that's a little too far.
So, those of you who are already in existing regions, I don't know how much you've built up relationships with those libraries, so I can. Yeah, there's a spreadsheet for this, and then the other thing that I've done here recently, because apparently, once I get started playing with maps, I'm really obnoxious with it. This is available through the communications page, and if the library is confused, they can just click on something and it will tell them. And the cataloging committee is doing this too, so they're on there as well.
So the reason I say that is, Monty, if you go to central, then I would say that I would do East Central.
Yeah, because Central or South?
Oh,
East Central,
East
East,
Central.
yeah. She would make more sense to do that.
All right.
If
What
you,
is
if
North
you're okay
Central?
with that.
I'm totally fine with that.
North Central is the orange section there.
So Fulton County,
So, yeah, Fulton County, Kewanna, Walkerton,
Those are, who's in the most northernmost library
the northernmost
here
library.
today?
Noble County.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it should be equitable, you know, like if you're the northernmost point, then you probably should have the farthest north position. That just seems to make sense to me logistically, but.
That would make me northeast.
Well, that's currently Nancy's region.
Yeah.
So. I say, it's up to you guys. If you want to shuffle them all, it's.
Because I think what you've done, what you've always tried to do is put, that's where our libraries are.
Yes, as close as I
Yes.
could regionally.
That's what, so that's.
We had some over,
Yeah.
but
And are you North Central or are you Central?
her library is
No, I'm
in here.
yeah,
northeast.
she's at the chunk up in the
okay.
corner,
Yeah.
But
the
close.
yellow.
Yeah.
Close.
Who's all in North Central, I guess? Where the libraries are.
North Central, like I say, it's the Fulton County Libraries, Kosciuszko County, Howard County, Miami County. So, let's see, Greentown, Syracuse, Milford,
I'm right there in Cromwell, so I'm right by Syracuse and Webster and.
yeah, and then Fulton County, Akron, Kewanna.
A refresher on what the actual duties are to your region?
Sure.
I mean, I know that we've had questions about, I forget what it was that we needed to reach out and explain. I don't know if it was Circs.
Couple of different.
And
A
the
few things-
payment pilot.
And the pay,
The
the
payment
pilot,
pilot,
and we just called or emailed, contacted everybody. Is there anything more strenuous that goes along with it?
No, the cataloging committee, what they did, they all sent out an email letting people know that they were there to answer questions about cataloging. If people had things they wanted to talk to the committee about, they could contact them directly, get clarifications on things that happened in the meetings or the policies. If you wanted to do something similar, I think that would be really nice. What we have primarily used the support regions for, I do encourage libraries to contact their committees for people, but what I really pushed to have you guys do is when we had a major issue come up and we needed to boost awareness. Not everybody reads their emails, not everybody's got time to, I don't have time to sit down and call every library in the state. So this was just a way to kind of share the burdens so that we could try to increase contact points, make people feel like they are actually genuinely in contact with the committee. They're not just sending stuff to the help desk and it's being filtered, but they're actually talking to you. So that they, their issues are being acknowledged. Yeah, basically you're there as a contact point.
So who isn't already assigned to something here? Vanessa?
I'm not.
Cheryl? And Mandy?
Do any of the people not assigned see an area that they say, hey, I can do that? Like
I think
Ruth just
Mandy-
did?
I think Mandy was talking about
I can do
the
North Central.
Okay, so let's
Central, all right,
let's
so
assign
that's
that.
region two.
I can do Southwest. I mean, it's sort of kind of in the area. My parents live in that area, so.
So Monty and Ruby, you guys gonna switch flop?
Yeah.
Well, Monty to Central.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does that leave us?
Northwest.
Just northwest?
And what is Northwest?
Northwest is the dark green section. So yeah, Newton County, Stark County, White County, Benton County.
I mean, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of email, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, and
You
the
don't have to
thing is,
like
you don't
visit
have
or
to visit
anything.
the
Yeah,
library.
well, I would be nice sometimes.
Mary
Yeah,
Ann's
once
up
in a
there,
while.
she totally
I
went
don't have
put off the red carpet, that's fine.
Alright,
Yeah.
Alright,
Okay, so Cheryl.
Okay, so I think Cheryl is Northwest.
West.
Yes.
Mandy as North
North
Central.
Central.
And then
Northeast, Nancy will stay.
you're gonna see where you are, correct?
Mhm.
Monty's gonna be Central. Ruth at East Central. Vanessa Southwest. I've got South Central and Jill's got Southeast. So I think we got it.
Alright.
Nice.
Anna, who are some in the central?
Well, Cheryl.
Me.
Only me too. I'm guessing
Let's
it's
see,
us.
yeah.
Us, I think.
All the libraries in Boone County.
Hamilton County.
Colfax, Kirkland, Hamilton County, Hendricks County, Morgan County,
The ring counts.
Greenwood, Shelby County, and State Library. So I expect.
And Indian
many
Public
calls.
I want a postcard. I think that would be sweet. Candy.
Do I?
I want a postcard.
Do that.
It says like greetings from Plainfield.
Excellent. I will include that in everyone's update here. Okay. Next issue, we've had a couple of libraries now ask about getting online registration turned on. It's the sort of thing that would be turned on for everybody, so I wanted to bring it to the committee before any decisions were made.
Interesting.
This is what it looks like. This is actually, this
I
is
think it's
the
one of these that
evergreen,
creates a dummy record.
but it creates a, let's say, yeah, it's a dummy record. It just shows up in your pending patrons page, and you can go in and approve the card or say no. They don't get the card until you actually give it to them, so you could set up a registration station and let people fill out this part before they come up to the desk and actually get their card. Or they can pre-register before they even come into your library. And you could email them and let them know, I'm sorry, you're not part of our library district, or come on down, we've got a card waiting for you.
So say that there is an online registration. This sends it, and I'm sorry, I was probably talking through this. They send a report saying that there was a pending or
The open Evergreen, there's a whole separate interface in Evergreen for this.
Does anything let you know that there's any pending? Or do I have to?
You'd have to remember to
I
open
have
it
to
up.
remember to check it.
Yeah, that was the meaning behind it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
They said the other that works.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right,
Yesterday, this was.
let me switch
I
over.
have to remember to do an extra step in the middle of the year thing since everyone's pretty well upgraded. They'll start that.
Go to the website. And we're gonna have to register a workstation probably.
Anna, could it be put where we go every day to check our payment reconciliations? Would there be something there that would say, hey, or flashing in your face, you got something?
In theory, it could be a link there.
Yeah.
But there's no good way to actually do it. Here's how many you have waiting. Type of thing.
That's something that we check every day, that, you know, we're always in that.
So it's pending patrons, and it just creates this list for you. It's by home library, and under circulation. It actually is in the staff clients as well, but since I can't get that loaded right now.
Look,
Where is
go
it
back to
listed?
the web client's splash screen real quick. I just want. Scroll down just a second.
Where in the staff class?
Under circulation.
Oh,
It would be nice.
pending page.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
A quick one's hot box there, box that says you need to check all these things every day.
Like a Florida option. That's
Yeah, it says, yeah, well, not, no, it links to those same things, but it's all in one place.
Put in the thing,
Oh, that's
like,
it.
okay, let's say
Oh, that's it.
I agree, I
Exact
have
same
to do.
things.
Do I need to contact them for more information, or is all the information there?
The information that's there,
Because
The
I
idea is
can
this
go
is-
through that list and it's. no
this
problem.
could eliminate paper registration steps.
Yeah.
And that's how it's being used in other consortia. and
So how many of you still use paper registration forms?
Oh,
We do, and.
Don't we have to retain those
Yes, we
paper
do.
copies for,
If you keep them, if you do them. If you don't do them, you don't have to retain them.
okay, because that is different than what,
Yeah.
told to keep them.
we were told that you had to retain that stuff.
Right, if it exists.
If you
If
have
it
it.
exists.
It's done this way, you don't have.
So you never have a
I just want to make sure I'm not running
signature,
afoul of
you
Jim
never
Corday.
have The archives has no influence on us at all.
I just don't want that.
There's
Bad karma.
nothing to do with this until you have a patron walk up and say, I registered for a card. You pop open the pending patrons interface and approve it. And
So
then
you
give you the
would
opportunity to put in the library
Patron
card.
comes in, you wouldn't do that until they came in.
Not unless you have really wanted to be proactive. I mean,
Okay, well,
You'd still want to check their ID.
You still wanna check
yeah,
their
you wanna
ID.
check their ID.
You
Okay.
actually have a
That's what
card.
I was
to- yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, just because it's there, the patron can go ahead and register for a card. They may not be in the library district. So
Yeah, there still
Right.
is.
there's a
Hands-on.
lot
A lot of
of
things,
ifs.
that's what I'm saying, you
This
have to
is-
just check to make sure that they didn't have a card already, blah, blah, blah.
So
Right.
then
So
is
this
it gonna
just
be,
to make it
I'm sorry, is it gonna be customizable to say what, because I know that we require different things than other libraries do for your card. We require actually more than what policy says.
Well, I've already had one question about this when I mentioned it was coming up. It's the interface, I would assume we could add fixed text, but it would show up the same for everyone. So we could maybe say something like, contact your local library for a list of required documents or something. Because right now it doesn't say anything about additional requirements.
It really is very generic, basic, and it's absolutely intended that you'll ask them for more information at some point.
Is there a report that shows the new patrons?
You know, the count or a list or.
A list of our new patrons, like, if we would get rid of, because one of the things that we use our paper ones is to check, and see if they all put them in correctly, put everything in correctly.
Yeah,
So if we would eliminate the paper,
mhm.
is there
Well, there's the challenge of trying to figure out, you wouldn't have anything to compare it with, because what shows up here would be what ends up in the record in Evergreen.
that's true.
So,
Well, for us, what
Yes.
we do is we border an unserved township
Mhm.
that has an Alexandria zip code. It says Alexandria dash 46001. So we go through and look at the streets and make sure, someone else who knows a little bit more about the lay of the land will go in and double check that. And for us, that's invaluable to have the paper
Right,
stuff.
right.
We have the same issues. We even have a township, Jackson Township, Morgan County, and then there's Jackson Township, Brown County, and they border each other. So
We have the
even when
same
someone
sugar
tells you their township, they're like, but I live in Jackson Township. You're like, yeah, but it's very confusing.
But Morgan's lived here.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you think we need more time to discuss, are we ready to make some movement on this today? I think it's an awesome idea. I would just like to see more on the page that says this does not, like filling out this form does not guarantee a card for you. This still is pending
Pending
approval.
verification.
Exactly.
And I can
Yeah.
see it leading to a lot of confused and even angry.
Yeah.
people. Saying, well, I filled this out online for something.
Exactly.
Where's my card? Where's my card? Why can't I do da da da?
Well, and I guess that would depend on what it says after you hit that submit registration. I mean, what does it say after you hit
Well,
that?
it doesn't, they won't read it anyway.
It's
I
very
mean,
true.
that's the thing, it doesn't matter how many. little
Yeah,
leaves you put
but
in.
at least you've got something after the fact to go and point and say, well,
Right.
it's right here.
Right. You should have read
Yeah, you
this.
should have read that.
That's why we put it on the screen.
Right.
It's like a skull and crossbones.
Someone will actually look at it.
You said you've heard from libraries asking for this?
Yes.
Several?
I think at least 6.
We would, my library would love to use it because we are just do away with the paper.
But we're
I
going.
mean, I understand that situation for you, for.
But I mean, if we could run a report, then we would have something to check every
Right.
day. But we're going to a lot of things online, jot forms that people fill out to request a library visit,
Sure.
all that stuff. So this is sort of a natural extension of that.
Have libraries opt in or out? Using it?
It's going to just show up in the catalog.
I mean, I think it would, be a lot like, hey, you promote it or you don't promote it.
Yeah, well, and if someone
Yeah, that's
came in and
true.
said, I put the form in, your staff would say, well, still need you to fill out this form,
Right.
and they can go through the normal procedure. There's nothing forcing you to use this, but I
Or-
would recommend occasionally, if you're not going to, planning on setting a date when you go in,
Right.
wipe out all of the extraneous records.
I'm not sure if this would be possible then to have libraries able to edit their static note field to say, we want this, or we need that, or depending
It
on
sounds
what.
like that isn't.
It'd be static for the entire consortium,
Right, but there's no way to individually edit it,
not
with there being.
unless you can force them to log in first, so that the system knows which part they're part of, and if they don't have.
Oh, it's not, I got you.
Yeah, this is something that's completely, anybody in the
It's just-
world can
But once
actually.
you add geolocation,
I got you.
Oh, so that I have
Yeah,
concerns
it's
with
a
that.
web form, so.
Because
It's just a web form, yeah.
Okay. It's not individual.
like I said, we've recently put purchase requests online.
Mhm.
And there are pages and pages and pages and pages and pages from, I don't know who it is, but who knows where they're from, I don't
A
know.
bot somewhere.
Yeah, it's, that could be a problem. Because that takes a lot of time to clean all of that stuff out of there.
Well, he's gone. I guess
I was gonna
we
say,
could
is
ask
there
him to
possibility
capture
to
something on it.
automate, though, some of that purging? If you hadn't,
It's
if
out
you
of-
haven't
it's
done
out
it
of
in a
state,
month
I
or
think.
something,
Mhm.
that, to me, if you haven't checked that in a month, that means you're probably not gonna check it, because it doesn't mean purge those.
Would there be a way, and forgive me for not, I don't know if this is possible at all, but would there be a way for it to verify as they put in their address, whether they really are eligible for an Evergreen card at all?
I would
Not the way
say
it's
put the
built.
library card number in, but that's what we're trying.
Yeah.
And that's what we do with a lot of our other things too, to
I'm just
stop
trying to think of
that.
another way to verify, you
Even if
know.
they choose home library, they could choose the wrong one.
I mean, and
That's
you would almost
true.
have to check it against Beacon, which is subscription,
Yeah.
and.
Well,
Right
ours
next
is
to
Syracuse.
Judy has a point,
Yeah.
using IP address, I don't know if that,
At least with.
That probably
cut
would
down
I
on
mean, it
the
would be a
extraneous
really
Yeah.
verification.
That's very true.
Africa on it.
yeah, I mean, it is like 30 pages of just nonsense requests.
Yeah, so the question has arisen, is there a way to make sure that we don't get hit by a ball?
Well, okay, so probably not yet, but I'm pretty sure using one of those reCAPTCHA
I was
things
gonna say.
isn't that difficult to wedge in there. And they're made for all I know is on the setting to turn that on. I just haven't looked into it that closely yet.
The other thing is, if you got really into this, and this is how you were having people register primarily, then if you spotted an account that was seriously wrong, you could potentially contact the person, because you are gonna have their email address and phone number and address, and you could tell them, somebody contact them and say, I'm sorry, send a form letter. Unfortunately, you're not inside our library district. Please visit our map to see where you might be safe.
Are these all required fields in here?
Well, my thoughts is if they come in and they said they did it online and then that's when you check. Or in the right district, we'll just say, I'm sorry, you're not in our district, but you could go to Greensburg and get a library card.
Well, and Nancy's comment, we put lots of disclaimers on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we cannot guarantee that you're eligible for library service in the district to which you're applying.
Right, yeah, just do that. I mean, you're not going to do anything until they physically walk in anyway, right?
Depends. I mean, some libraries may. Some may send them a postcard and say, we've done this, you need to come and bring these forms and. No.
That's a lot of extra work.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do
The other
that.
thing I do
Wait till they walk
regularly is to weed out the obviously wrong ones.
Right.
So this list doesn't grow forever.
Right.
Is
But
it,
yeah, that could be.
Well, that was one of the questions when we were out, was it after a certain point timeout, would there be a timeout?
Maybe.
Taking it off the pending list in a month, that they're probably not coming in.
Right.
is it,
And if they do, then they just have to do it.
Yeah.
is it possible that, like, so if somebody goes to this form from a link from your website, that you can have the branch pre-selected?
I don't know. I hope, because yeah, they're not going to choose from a list of $200.
Or they might just choose what one they hope,
that-
or they
Yeah.
wish.
Yeah.
I would like to be a single picture. Yeah.
I understand what to think.
No, this is just a screenshot.
Because I find it hard
Yeah, it'd
to
be nice if it
explain
were just like the
districting
catalog, if you
to
had
most people.
your library's extension in there.
Could you put in, if they entered their zip code, that it would bring up the library?
That's what I said.
Or you
That'd
said-
be a good idea.
There you go.
Somebody copy.
I mean, for us, it wouldn't work because,
Yeah,
like I
because
said,
I
have
We have the same
Original
thing,
Township
but
is
we
46001, it wouldn't work.
Closer.
Write it down.
Well, the other option. See, this form is actually designed to be reached from the OPAC, like down in the lower
Right.
left, request a card. The other option is we don't do that. And if this pre-filling the URL thing doesn't work, you can just add it to your website. And then
Right.
it is already set. And if you don't want to do it at all, you shouldn't end up getting any. And it's much simpler that way, than just turning it loose.
That sounds like a better plan.
But it sounds like there's research. to
I was gonna say, I don't think it's something that we could vote on right now.
But it is something you would like us to look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
And I think that our patrons or potential patrons would love it.
Well, I like the
And the
idea.
bots too.
Within the library, they could do, like, here, just fill this out.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
there, and
Absolutely.
take it off your penny.
Here's an iPad.
Yeah, here's
Here,
the
have
iPad.
this, absolutely, slow sheet.
I would love it.
Rather than, because we don't do
Kids,
cards,
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Phone number.
Can you really slow on the
Shop
shop
your
your
library.
So then we just auto import all that ball fields to
Yes, it's, if you,
register,
there's,
register
it's not
patrons.
showing right here, let me see if it shows. It's circulating.
But I think you have to be in.
What you do, yeah, you pick the patrons that you want with load patron and it opens them up in the patron edit. You add the barcode and give them their password and.
That's cool though.
Oh, yeah, I see,
Helpful
I
in
see
frontline
here.
staff.
Can you issue computer user cards that way too?
Yeah, because you don't set the profile until
Okay.
they actually show up for it. Yeah, really all it's collecting is their contact information, but it's their fault then if it's wrong.
I think it's worth exploring for sure. Okay, we ready for the search update?
Yep. Nancy wanted to talk about PopRel.
We have,
Updated, I'll mention this, we were able to put together some feedback from other consortia and from libraries as we've been visiting to update how PopRel is sorting, and hopefully that's started to impact positively already. But it's only been a couple of weeks, so it's kind of upsetting. Unless you've suddenly noticed it's easier to find things.
I haven't, but I don't know that I've done enough to make a difference. Yeah, this is one that we have been frustrated with, and I asked on it if we were the only ones. And I've had more than one, and we're very small, I've had more than one patron not able to find something since the popularity adjusted relevance has come about. And, you know, we've explained other ways to search and how to do it, and she had kind of figured it out, but like her response was, but I don't read what's popular. You know, so she was not finding what she was looking for, and had almost gone to borrow from, you know, like gone other routes to get what she wanted until she kind of figured out around it.
Well, the case studies that you sent me, we actually used to test.
Okay.
And in every case, it was to the point now where it was search for result was on page 1.
Okay.
So I didn't have anything like that from any other libraries.
And
And I
I
had a couple other libraries say stuff's getting buried, we don't understand why. But,
And I don't
There's
have
no
any
case
more
studies,
specific
yeah.
examples either. I haven't taken the time to do that. It's just the things that I would expect to be close to the top are 10 or lower.
I have a specific example from this week or last week where I was searching for Sports Illustrated magazine. I put in Sports Illustrated and I think it was on page 2. And like you would think
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated magazine would be relatively popular.
Yeah.
That I thought that was kind of a weird one. It might not have been on page 2, but it was like at the very bottom of the page with like 40 things above it. Because I think I have mine set to 50, so it was like low in the
Yeah.
results.
that makes cereals.
There isn't a place to do that. You can only look at certain things.
Yeah. I thought that number of copies was one that was still high. And magazines are going to have a lot. of
Right,
copies.
there's tons of copies.
Not on the web client.
I don't know that I have access.
Um,
this is probably unrelated, but I've had some searches time out as well, say no results found.
Yeah, that's unrelated to
Okay.
that.
Because then when it
That's
seems when
what
I
did
switched,
last time.
okay, because when I switched to relevance and it finds it, and I'm like, I don't think that's
Yeah,
the search
The
issue.
deal
Okay.
with that is that even when it does time out, the search itself goes ahead and finishes, it just
So
doesn't
then
go
it's-
anywhere, and then it's cached the next time
Okay.
you do it again. But I did some database adjusting last night, so there's a whole lot fewer timeouts everywhere.
All right, I don't remember what's it called.
Statistical popularity badges, maybe.
I don't have access to it.
So,
Okay, well, anyway, we've removed a few things that were too difficult to really head down and really work that well.
Age was a big one.
Yeah, age, and I think it's circulation time or something like that.
I mean, to me, one of the things is like the popularity, like relevance seems like it would be useful as a secondary thing. Like, you're first and foremost, you want the results to be like obviously, like if you do a title search and there's something that has that exact title, you pretty much want that at the top.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's a lot of things that are sort of related that are more popular. You want the thing that's like directly related
That's
to come
my
at the top of your
frustration.
list. Because for one thing, I can see why that came to the top of their list. Even if that's not what they're looking for, they're not like, what the hell? Why did I get this? Whereas right now, their response is quite likely to be, what the hell? Why did I get this?
Or worse.
Yeah. I have had that happen, where I'm like, that exact string is right down here. What's all this?
Yeah.
Well, then that would, because we get people saying, well, I'm looking for this and I'm not finding it. It's like,
Right.
well, I know I bought that if we have it.
And then, of course, you do a title search and everything is a keyword search.
I think the majority of us do or certainly patrons just do a keyword.
That's
Right,
search.
people
Yeah.
default to keyword search.
Yeah.
And you still essentially want the keyword search to prioritize things that match the
Right.
title.
Right.
But I remember a long time ago, we used to tell people we would discourage the keyword search.
Of course.
Yeah, but that's
But
still
it-
what,
but
that's the
always
default
gonna be
option.
the basic default kind of thing. People are like, oh, look, there's a box. This is how Google works. Let's do that.
So, do you think others are frustrated with it and you're not hearing about it, or it's not understood that there's a difference?
Well, now that you've brought this up, now it clarifies why there are some things going on in my building, why, I know I bought, Game of Thrones, whatever season, I know it's there, I shelved it this morning, and, it's not showing up at the top.
Right.
Or not showing at all. That may be why.
I know I've been very frustrated by it and haven't said anything because, I can make it work.
Well,
And
and
it
it's
just,
just
like-
things to get
and it's-
frustrated about in the world. You're like, well, I'm not gonna get worried about this keyword search. There's like people dying. So just
I can find what I'm looking for
Yeah.
regardless of that. And I just hasn't made it to the top of my priority list
Well,
of
and that's why I
things
say I
to.
don't have, I had kind of started a list, but time to do it every time, partially because I've switched to relevance all the time. I mean, I just change it, so I don't use it.
But it's only in the keyword search box. So if you do title, it's totally fine.
Are you
Is
guys?
Well, it always affects it. It's just if you put in a title search, it's,
You're defining them more.
yeah.
You're
giving
defining it more, so
much-
you're more likely to get it.
So that's why I have never personally, because from the days from many years ago, we did not do keyword searching. We would do title.
Right.
I never broke myself of that habit.
Probably when you're
That's
a little bit, if that was different than the Sports Illustrated thing, when you're a little bit off, a lot of people will come up and quote a title to me that's just a little bit off. So I'll Google the title and I'll say, oh, it's really this.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I don't-
doing the
I mean, I don't
workarounds
even
to
do
get
title.
it.
I'll do the key
Absolutely.
words, the
Right.
the
Because you
definitive
sort
words
of
of the
kind of know
title.
what you're looking for.
Yeah, like, whatever it is, I don't do the exact title, do
Right.
those keywords of the title, and probably the author's last name, after knowing what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
And it'll, and you're searching,
yeah. Because usually people will come up, my experience is
yeah, they never get
that
it.
they'll come up and say, I'm looking for this and I just don't, I'm not seeing it. And that's when you think, oh, maybe they just have it a little bit off. I don't know, are you getting actual like complaints from patrons or?
The one that complained the most searches a different way now. She switches to relevance and,
Okay.
yeah, she's just learned to do that. Yeah. And then a couple others have, just kind of mentioned that it's frustrating. We tell them the same thing, just switch to relevance and you'll get what you
And probably lots of people are just assuming we don't have those things.
That's what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, they
Because
just
that's
don't
what-
bother to
yeah.
talk to you, they just.
Right, they just think, ah,
We've gotten rid of 2 or 3 different badges now. So all we look at now are top holds of the last 5 years, the current copy count, and current hold count. So, and I think.
We're only looking at the top 1%, even of that.
Yeah, one of those is really, really small. And also, I think we've checked how much we can boost relevance, is 10%
Yeah.
or less.
10%, it's the smallest. Okay.
Yeah, so if you got a $5 badge and something, now that should only be up to another 10% relevance. So hopefully things aren't buried anymore.
Well,
But if you do notice, and if it is again irritating, that would be a good time to let us know. Because yes, we can all, play around these things. But the goal is that it is useful because patrons won't.
yeah, I guess I just, I guess I just still feel like Sarah said that relevance should be first. If it's matching words that you've entered, that should be the priority of the search, and then the popularity.
that, right, if you have 2 things with the same title,
And you can't switch the
then
whole
the
thing
more
back to
popular one
relevance.
should be on the top.
Okay, I thought it was a consortium decision.
But we could get rid of popularity.
Okay, you could get rid of it, but we can't.
You can't
Change it
switch
to-
the order relevance to popular.
Because, yeah, I mean, it seems like you want things to be ranked by relevance and then popularity, not popularity and then relevance.
So could I ask all of you to use it more and pay attention to where your results are coming and see if there are, if it's just something we're not noticing? Because we know how to, we know how to search on the library end, to do more keyword searches and see if.
I just did the Sports Illustrated search and this one came out perfectly reasonably.
So maybe the updates that Jason did,
Yeah, maybe.
because I did notice that, and like I said, I have not taken the time to keep watching.
Well, like I said, you get your workarounds in place, and that's what you always do, so it works.
Or perfectly reasonably in terms of getting Sports Illustrated at the top of the list, the magazine. Number 4 is Car and Driver magazine,
Yeah,
which
I got-
that seems bizarre. Like there's millions of books and things related to Sports Illustrated, so you would think those still might come ahead of.
I got that as number 3.
And I've got number 5 is 17 magazine,
I got
again,
that.
completely unrelated to Sports Illustrated.
And then the Great Fuzz Frenzy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not really sure what that's all about.
And I've got Indiana at 200, a celebration of the Hoosier State.
That is weird that you just did a keyword search, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just
Illustrated.
slightly off from
Matching
what you got.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
But I'm in the client, so I don't know if that changed anything.
You're,
Oh,
yeah, and I'm in the OPAC, so that would probably
Yeah,
change
you're
things
just
a little.
getting relevance results if you're in staff client.
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't change
That would
the
explain it.
middle box.
I'm still not sure what the Great Fuzz Frenzy is now.
So,
And a ball for Daisy.
No, you get.
so yeah, no, you get as relevant, you get popularity adjusted.
That's how we remember.
Well, that's
From the
probably
splash
what it
page
is,
now,
is
right?
that there's
Oh.
subject headings, there's
Because
sports, and then there's.
I never ever use the splash page. So if I use the splash page, I will not have the popularity adjusted
Which is part of
relevance.
our-
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
well, I never use it because it's just like just the box, and I'm almost always wanting to limit.
That's why I found out that my assistant was more frustrated with it than I was, because I go from the splash screen and she goes from advanced search.
Yeah, yeah, because I was like, wait, in the staff client, you definitely still get the popularity
If
adjusted
you do
relevance.
the F3 searching.
That's, yeah,
well,
that's what I.
I don't know if you do
Yeah.
on
Yeah, I think it's
Well, advanced versus basic, I didn't know if they were.
Well, from advanced search, you definitely get popularity adjusted relevance, because that's what I default to.
So with Nancy's recommendation, do you think we all can try to just keep a closer eye on how things are coming back? Search-wise, listen out, I mean, I know we always listen to our patrons, but maybe keep a special ear out for any frustration with that, and we can reevaluate, see if there's anything different we can do.
Not happening and we don't know it.
So I just ran it off the basic splash page off our website for the next, and I got the exact same results from the advanced search and SAP client, where I just. But yeah, I haven't, to your point, I really avoid keyword mostly if I can.
Yeah.
Depending
Guess I'm
on
the
how
only lazy
your,
searcher.
how your search box is written, it may or may not use
Mhm.
the same sorting.
But yeah, sure, I mean,
And you don't have to wait 2 months to let us know either. So you email me or Anna, or if you would like, you can just drop a note in the help desk, but make sure that you're not saying, no, there's no expectation of change immediately, because Bob will ask, what do they want me to do? And I'll just have to keep saying, just forget it.
Just put in, this is for Jason, he asked for this info.
So I don't make everything on the help desk. Our numbers look really nice.
You ready for the reports interface?
Sure. And this was from Scott. He wanted to know if you guys would like to talk about researching the cost of having a new reports interface developed. I can tell you right now that Georgia tried to do this a couple of years ago. The cost was 6 figures, and they ended up with skin, not a new interface.
And no, we don't have it. And we're not going to.
you mean basically it was an overlay over a WYSIWYG overlay,
Well, and it wasn't.
which is what I was picturing, but not 6 figures.
It's also not even a report writer, is it?
No, you have to have
Yeah.
somebody write the reports, and then that skin allows you to import and use the reports,
Already
the
built.
templates that someone else has built.
So are we saying the way the reports module is built, there's no way to, without scuttling it and writing a new reports module?
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing is more than 6 figures. Or
Well, it'll be a
goes up
solid
from
6
there.
figures. That's my guess.
Is it perhaps something that we could submit to the MassLink Consortium, Development Consortium?
Have they talked about reports at all?
Every time, everywhere.
I mean, I was like,
since time began.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the MassLink group has just prioritized their major project will be search improvement.
Right,
Um,
but there'll be another,
yeah, in 3 years. That's their
that's about how long it would take.
major project for the next 3 years.
I did not either. Is it a rotating
Don't get me
3
wrong.
years?
Well, that's a large.
So
Yeah, that's their overarching.
Yeah, but this would be.
maybe to temper my wish list, is there a way to work toward it? So that we don't
Oh,
have to
it gets
blow.
debated a lot.
What's that?
There are a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, and not just in not just in Indiana, I think
No.
everywhere.
No, CW Mars just released a report. They, at the end of 5 years, they migrated Evergreen 5 years ago, and, well, 6 years ago now. And at the end of 5 years, they did a massive survey of their libraries. And there was a whole chapter in that report on the reports interface,
Okay.
including somewhere like 12, 15 pages of people saying, reports are terrible.
Yeah.
So it's something that everyone
Wants.
would like to see happen. The trick is, just like it is now, trying to come up with consensus on what people actually need, want, should be able to access.
I think part of it, and this is from my perspective, I think part of the issue with talking about reports is that, first of all, a large number of people don't know how they work and what they're pulling from the database and what database structure looks like. And then, of course, and this is kind of the obvious one, when those databases are built, they were built by thinking about necessarily what the end user was going to be asking. And so when you're looking at the unique keys and all those things, you're like, oh, nothing going to make sense. And so to actually somehow get those things to come together, and there's lots and lots and lots and lots of fields and tables and everything.
There's almost 500 sources.
Right.
And so,
With duplicate, I mean, identifiers and things that mean something totally different from table to table, whatever.
Not entirely duplicate, but there are a couple of tables that duplicate. No, I know all of them. I have.
Yeah.
I've mapped them.
Yes.
well, and just that there's so many possible questions that somebody might want to ask, essentially.
Right.
That,
With a different flavor over here.
right.
Yeah.
That,
And that's one of the things we've struggled with.
And the little tick box that says, would you like me to read your mind or not? So.
I think
Why
it's
don't we hire
gratuitous.
a reports writer? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Please.
yeah, somebody that was their
Yeah, I mean, don't
only
we
job
have-
is to write reports for
we have a budget.
people.
Are we allowed to budget positions?
That's
a good suggestion.
It's a
Very
great
true.
suggestion.
The bottom line is right now, all personnel has to go through the state library, and the state will not let us hire anybody else because the consortium isn't a legal entity. You
Which is
can't hire
something that
somebody
should
if you
probably
can't
be in
actually
conversation.
be their employer. So,
I know this might be kind of a simplistic point of view, but I know most of us came from using the commercial ILS systems that we were using, that all you had to do was be like, I want this, and it was like, like magic, and
Right.
we got used to, I know we got used to that.
Flexibility.
And it's just a little bit more labor intensive. So I think part of it is just being slightly spoiled by how easy it was at one time, and then thinking, well, why can't this be just as easy, not taking into consideration how many people they had doing just that, so.
well, and one of the other problems is, yes, you hit that button and got a magic report, but it wasn't really what you wanted.
And that's
Right.
true too.
Right, and here you can get whatever
you
you
want.
want if you can ask the question correctly.
For the most part.
Which
Yeah.
There are a few things you have to go and talk to projects about.
Which is fine. That's way easier anyway.
There's always been good support for sure.
I am certainly not opposed to us trying to work on this. But I want you to be aware that this would be a massive undertaking. We probably need to get multiple large consortia involved if it's going to be paid for.
So maybe that's where we need to start, or part of where we need to start.
Right.
I don't actually know how to do that. I mean,
Well,
is it a 3-year rotating development cycle, or is it a 3-year prioritized? This is what we're doing for 3 years.
that's their main focus for the next window. But they do other projects as they
Of
arise.
course.
So it's like we've got 6, 7 things going right now. Yeah, the main goal will be that most of the focus for the next couple of years at least will be on
It's where
research,
you're in
making it
now.
fuzzy friendly.
This is obviously like an equally large thing. That essentially, it's on the same scale,
Oh,
if not
yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about tearing down an entire module and starting over.
Well, and given that with simplicity comes limits, this won't be a replacement, in addition. So the people who can get by with this will be perfectly happy with it, depending on how that turns out. But then you're going to run into a wall, and then the options then are either email us or use the existing interface, which could be in some ways improved, but it will never be as easy as something
Push our
designed
button. Yeah. Yeah.
and still be powerful. So,
Ready to move on? Table this for now? Okay, let's go on to disciplinary actions for failure to pay in a timely fashion.
Yes. This is frustrating, I hope for everybody. So far, our record is around 7 months delinquent. And this is with emails and calls and, oh, we forgot. And so I'm wondering if it's time for us to put some measure in place that is more significant than me calling them or emailing them for the 45th time saying, we still don't have your money. And nobody can have theirs until you get yours in.
Just so we're clear, you don't have a list you're gonna share with us
No,
later on, right?
Absolutely.
Although, depending on how many months out, telling the directors who is holding up their payments might be effective rather than punishing their patrons.
Is it
I
a
mean, that is the
quarterly
voice of
issue, or are
reason.
they just lazy and don't do it?
I'll tell you, we don't get very many. I mean, it just doesn't, it's not every quarter that we have to pay,
Uh-huh.
and I forget. I just forget, I don't check it daily because there's nothing there, and so I just forget. That's the honest truth, you know? I don't think I've been 7 months late, I think I was 4 months late.
Or something else we would want to be able to do with the electronic stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I think that our checks cost 90 cents and.
Yeah.
Payment.
Yeah, I have 50 cents.
No, we're researching options to potentially change the timelines, because I've been told by libraries if it was a monthly thing, it would be much easier for them to keep up with. Because right now their timelines are all based on monthly bills. But I can't process it through the state at that rate because the business office does not have that kind of time. I've had people say they need direct email copies. I've had people say they want direct physical copies.
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah, and I don't have a consensus from the community as to what people think would actually prompt them to pay the bills. Because I say, I've got people who are like, if it's paper, it goes on my desk and it's gone, it's a black hole. And I've got other people who are like, if it goes in my email, I'll never see it.
I've gotten an email from you before and I was like, oh, and printed it out and that was that. But that's just me, so,
Well, that's my ideal.
yeah.
That's my preference, is to send out a notice on the 1st of January, April, October, and July. And then everybody pays, and then 35 days later, I send a round of reminders, and we're good.
That's
But it's not been working out so well.
Yeah, because I see that when you say the quarterly has been posted, then that's my, okay, go check it.
So we're saying append to the email, you've got X days to respond to the, or X time to respond to this, or else.
But you're asking for disciplinary of some sort.
Some sort of
Certain
option,
point.
something beyond, I mean, I'm
If
not
they're
saying it
not
couldn't
gonna
just,
pay.
yeah.
I mean, right now,
Remind
they're waiting for
me,
a year to pay something. I mean,
Yeah.
And it holds up
and
everybody
it holds up
else's.
everybody else's.
But then the
Yeah,
other thing
which
is,
is
like,
very
we
frustrating.
find them, are they gonna pay that?
But do you have something in mind?
Public flogging.
Could you have a better outcome if if we farm these out to the reps for the regions and
Yeah, I was.
have direct?
That's a privacy issue.
Well, the downside is to that is I have to talk to the business office to find out who still hasn't paid. And then I have to send you an email so that you can send an email.
And then we become police.
But I mean, at that point, I can go ahead and just send the directors a letter. If they didn't, I get the idea though that, additional minds keep, or additional eyes keeping track.
Well, I mean, we all pay bills and we all have to pay them on time. I don't understand why there's
Right.
not a limit, like,
Exactly.
there has to be something, there has to be some consequence.
And
to
that's the
never
question.
paying.
I mean, do you want to set up some sort of tiered program? Yes, okay, so first time out, it's a small monetary fine on top of. And then they go to no remote borrowing. we don't have a lot of options for,
Is it a lot
Into
of
the
funds that's being tied up? Does it represent?
well, I mean, we're talking about $20,000 a quarter being held hostage, sometimes by amounts less than $10 for months. Our business office does not want to be sitting on this money any longer.
What, can you give us a
Maybe-
scope of what, how many libraries are we talking about that are routinely doing this? Is it 1 or 2, or is it 10, 15?
This last quarter is 32.
Oh, gosh.
Was I one of them?
See, that's ridiculous in my opinion.
I don't pay the bills anymore, so I
Yeah,
I have
the-
someone else that does it.
The delinquent group was 32 libraries this last quarter.
But one wasn't us, was it?
I don't remember.
Because I don't see any of the bills, I don't see any of that stuff anymore. I have an
No,
account that does
I-
all of it now.
Well, if it had been an issue, you'd have heard from me, so if you haven't heard from
You
me, you're in
directly-
good shape.
You directly contact the director
I have been
if there's-
contacting
or the
the
bookkeeper.
bookkeepers, yeah. Well, whoever the fiscal contact was for the library, and occasionally that's how I discovered the bookkeepers have been let go. In which case, then I follow up with the director, but, or have moved on to other opportunities, I shouldn't say anything.
Would sending a notice to the library's board help them put more pressure on their staff to make sure it gets done? I don't know, I'm just trying to think of what would scare
One
me.
case that I remember.
And maybe I
What about
kind
my
of
board
laughed at the
members?
physical thing, but I mean, would that be about $500 a year for the consortium to send out those thereabouts? That's not counting any labor that goes into that, which is more labor that goes into that.
Yeah, right now, for me to do a physical mailing for the consortium, it takes at least an afternoon's processing.
Right.
And with 118 items, it's not the monetary outlay is not insane.
No, but it
It's
is
just a question of
labor.
whether or not it's worthwhile.
But if it would. I'm sorry.
Of the 32, how many were
How come
directors
it's
and how
not
many were
close?
bookkeepers, do you know? Like that you were actually sending things to?
I don't
Well, I just
remember.
wonder if it would better go right to the director instead of the bookkeepers?
Depends on the library.
Yeah.
I mean, like
About
Monty
repeat
doesn't see
offenders.
those things.
So it's
Yeah, I don't-
frequently the
yes,
same.
yes, I-
Yeah, he would go to his bookkeeper and say.
Yeah, if I got the notice from Anna, I would go to Eric and say, hey, Eric, this is not getting paid.
Yeah, so does my boss.
Yeah. I don't know, there are about 4 or 5 that have been chronic offenders. But by and large, a lot of times it's libraries that just forget. And that first email reminder, we get a flood of checks in and it clears most of it up, and then I'm down to harassing a handful of libraries for the next month and a half, 2 months, 3, 4 months. I don't like doing it because it embarrasses the library, but
I think you do quarterly, if you do like 45 days, if you're late 45 days, give them another quarter. And then, right, is that, you send it out quarterly?
But that holds up the first quarterly payment.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, so, but if
I
you
was
told
trying to-
people, if you don't pay it by the end of the quarter, then you're gonna lose your borrowing privileges. Hopefully you wouldn't.
That's nuclear, but those
Yeah,
two
that's what I'm
words.
saying.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, and it's easy to turn that off, Jay. I mean, is it just the borrowing privileges, or is it a lot of work to do that?
No, it's not too difficult. Trying to think how much.
That would
how
make
many
a
things
lot of our
we
rate
change
patrons.
to make it work, but I think that was pretty basic.
But that's the thing, no, that's what we respond to,
Right,
is our patrons, and
right.
if they're being directly impacted by us not doing our job.
Something fairly simple.
Yeah.
Well, and
It'd
it's
be
on
a
the
good way
plat
to
schedule.
learn
How
real
hard
quick.
can that be? I mean,
Okay.
that's, that's how I always kind of remembered when I was doing the bills. That's how I, because it was always whenever the plat card stuff was due. It was my kind of reminder.
Yeah, I never remember the black card.
Well, you probably don't,
I
we
just
don't,
found
we
it
don't
here.
sell plat cards
It's
anymore.
really
so-
hard to remember.
Yeah, I mean, we used to sell a good amount, but we
In
don't
6
sell
years,
any
but it's
anymore.
only in 6 years, at least. And I feel bad about it.
But I like the idea of turning off their bar. I mean, if that's gonna get them to pay the bills.
all right. time for.
And it's easy, and it's not a big burden on Jason or his staff to do that.
So I would
Talk
say
about
then too, that this would be something that we as representatives need to call our libraries and say, this is what this means, this is why it's happening. Make sure that everybody understands very pointedly.
I think if you tell them you're turning them off, that would, you'd have to be psycho not to like really take it seriously.
Oh, of course, but everybody needs to get the memo.
First,
Yeah.
that this is a
Yes.
possibility.
Yes,
Right.
no, that it's an eventuality.
Well, I just mean,
Yes.
I would say we would be calling people that never have even been
Sure,
late with a payment, or we'd be telling everyone, correct?
right,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
that it,
Just
yes, that it is a
Could
possibility,
you-
yes.
Forgive me for, again, I'm terrible on the phone. I just am, I'm much better written. Would anyone want to draft a nice talking points, these are the things we may need to make sure we communicate. Because half the time I'm like, this is Jennifer, I'm from the Morgan County Public Library, I'm your Evergreen representative, and I'm calling because
I don't remember.
hi, I'm calling, and it's just like, I don't make any sense, so I want to make sure sorry, I'm just terrible on the phone.
Yeah, I do usually
Emphasize
like
that
script out before.
The entire funds are held.
You're nice and food is good.
Well, and I think it would be nice too to know that we were all saying the same thing.
Right,
Yes.
It needs to
I
be
agree.
consistent in how we're telling people.
I agree.
So we need some talking points.
be a deadbeat. Hey.
Or else.
Or else you sleep with the fishes.
We have budget.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, and I know Sarah mentioned at the end of the quarter, we haven't gotten it, but that still puts libraries holding the funds for 2 months past when they're supposed to have turned them in. I understand needing to wait for a second board cycle. What are your thoughts? Do they need a third?
Does everybody meet monthly?
Yeah, you're required.
Yeah,
Just
just
like-
like-
You're required to.
Okay, all right. Didn't know about that.
I would think after 2 months, you should have it done.
Because most libraries have a resolution that they can pay bills anytime.
Anyway,
Yeah, that
If
was,
they
Up to
are,
a certain-
that would be my question. I would
and they
think
seem to be lower number, it's not.
Some do, some don't. I do still have the libraries I know.
that don't have that ability to pay within one cycle. So,
Got a couple of libraries that got thrown with that.
yeah, that's fair.
And you're supposed to do that every year, right?
yes.
You can't do it like 10 years ago and still do it.
Wait, what's that?
Do it every year, a resolution.
Yeah, is it
where-
is an annual resolution that's due, or is it?
Yeah.
prior approval
Yeah.
has to be annual?
Yeah, because I didn't know that until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we have one.
We did ours in 2005, and I never redid it until,
Thank you.
well, I guess our last audit, 2011.
So if they don't pay within 2 months?
Yeah, we either they get the reminder when the invoice drops, an email reminder when the invoice drops, and then I'll reach out to them once we get to 35, 38 days, and then they've got another month after that.
And then we turn off. Okay. Do we need to make the same motion?
Oh, definitely.
I thought so. I assumed as much. I just didn't know who would be brave enough to make the motion.
I'll be brave enough to do it.
And I'll
Nice.
second that,
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
unless somebody else wanted to add it.
Okay. Sounds like our motion is carried. So Anna, will you send out those talking points
I
for
will.
us?
And the thing is too, that maybe needs to go in there is, especially since we're in budget season right now, that when we are showing DLGF what our income is, and that's not reflected in our fines and fees because it hasn't dropped there yet, that affects everybody's that's in here, whether significantly or insignificantly, it is an effect as we're budgeting, so. And what they're looking at, can you actually fund this budget, whatever. Do they have bills? Paid bills.
Well, you just don't want to go into your budget cycle with that. You want to be accurate as much as you
Absolutely,
can.
absolutely.
Well, and the auditors have been really busy around Indiana libraries. They're just, I know it's come up, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, I cannot believe they charge that much an hour.
I know.
I was like, really?
Yeah, to have your boxes sit in front of us for a month.
Yeah, it used to, like years, we were last audit in 2011, it was like $45 an hour. And now it's like 100 and something. I couldn't believe how much that was.
For something you're required to do.
Exactly.
It looks like we've already solved the issue of empty seat, which sounds funny to say. So we solved that issue. So I guess we just have to announce that we're gonna meet again in October.
Yep, if the date and time is good for you.
1 p.m. is usual, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
A motion to adjourn?
Do we have a motion? I will second.
Either one.
Janet or Scott?
Yeah.
Are you gonna send out a call for participation for the cataloging parties?
Another one? Again?
I'll be in Sweden.
I can't remember what it is, just kidding.
I've been posting them on the cataloging listserv since that's where most of the catalogers are, rather than putting it on the support.
Yeah.
But it's
But I can get those messages, I just don't.
I was gonna say,
But they could stop.
just hit down several.
You should leave with that.
I should be able
Two in
to.
September and.
I wrote it
Yeah.
down.
If nothing else, if you or your catalogers.
Do we need to officially- Are we doing
We did it already.
That's right, I just second that, right?
You second that
Online training
Somewhere.
in person, that's a good way to help out someone else and get websites.
I'm going to.
Bye, Courtney. Thank you.